We're in Edinburgh, Scotland, and we're about to visit Macsween, a third-generation family-run haggis producer. What we're about to see is a traditional haggis, which is encased in an animal tripe and stuffed with meat, spices, salt, and a few more ingredients. So let's go and find out which ones.
I've always been curious about haggis, and finally I get the chance to travel to Scotland to find out how it's made and why it matters so much to Scots. Leading me in this journey is James Macsween, who has turned his grandfather's butcher shop in Edinburgh into one of the most successful haggis companies in the UK.
Being a boy in a family business, I never get tired of eating haggis. From when I was old enough to understand what my dad did to, 40 plus years later. I love haggis. I love haggis.
There is no steadfast rule as to what specific animal has to go into haggis. At Macsween, the base is lamb lungs and beef fat.
I'm the third generation managing director of Macsween's. We're still using that same recipe that we started with in 1953. You can have a pork haggis, you can have lamb and beef, you could have a lamb, beef and pork. There's some people make venison haggis. We've made venison haggis in the past. But as long as this business has been making haggis, we have always made lamb and beef recipe.
How many lungs are there in?
Oh, hundreds. They've been, it's a big block of meat that we guillotine, but there's hundreds.
Okay. And how many haggis are these going to make?
By the time Connor's lifted everything for this batch, it will make 2,000 puddings or 4,000 portions.
Each pudding is meant to serve 2 to 3 people, so that is about 2 portions per pudding.
It looks like marble.
Yeah, it's like
It looks like Tuscan marble.
travertine, pink travertine.
Yeah.
Some manufacturers mince a lot of their meat raw and then they cook it in the casing. We don't do it like that.
Okay.
We cook our lungs. Others, some don't.
Oh.
So cooking it makes our haggis light and fluffy. So
Smells like liver, actually.
Yeah, well, it will smell like it. It doesn't taste like it.
The lungs they are safe to eat, I guess. But
yeah.
Why is it that they're banned in some countries?
According to Canada and America, they think that you're going to contract tuberculosis. Pretty much every butcher in Scotland will make haggis. We eat a huge amount of haggis in Scotland. Everybody's okay. It's really well cooked, so we cook the lungs. They then once they've been mixed with all the other ingredients, it goes into the casing, it gets cooked again, and then for the consumer to eat it, it gets cooked again. It's very safe.
What James is referring to is a 1971 US ban on imported animal lungs that is still in place today. But while haggis cannot be imported from Scotland, there are still some local producers feeding those hungry for haggis across the pond. Lungs are cooked for about 2 hours before being mixed with onions and salt. Meanwhile, in this other room, spices and oatmeal are measured to then be blended together with gravy and the minced meat. They wouldn't share the full list of spices, but from what we can tell, there may be nutmeg, mace, and coriander.
It's really very simple.
Yeah, it is actually. It's just a lot of ingredients.
A lot of ingredients. It's just like making a hot sausage or a salami.
But you would never just miss out on any of these ingredients.
No, you wouldn't.
If you make haggis without spices, then
no. Haggis needs spice.
Now it's time to encase the haggis. This is done with beef intestine.
So this is intestine you use?
Yeah, this is beef intestine. This is what we call a large bung or the large intestine. There's this end here is the equivalent of your appendix.
Okay.
So it's that part of the gut. And then along here there's a small hole.
Where is that?
There, it's there. And that's where the large intestine joins the small intestine.
Okay.
All these casings you would see being used for mortadella, which is which is what this casing's for, or salami or chorizo. The small intestine is typically used for salamis for a narrower caliber, but for haggis, that's the casing that we use.
Haggis is quite wide. So
haggis is very wide.
Okay.
These are 454 gram haggis today, but we do make haggis that are 2.3 kilos, so they feed 10 people, and they're very wide and very long.
And is there a difference in taste as well, at the end?
Yes, very good question. Like real cheese, mature cheese, there is a flavour that comes off the casing that gives it a more traditional flavour.
Okay.
It's a more mature flavour.
The freshly made puddings are punched to let out the air as they cook. They will stay in the oven for about an hour and cook at 100 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Look at there's some yellow water coming out. Is this for the spices?
Oh no, that's the fat.
Oh, okay. So it's not water.
No.
No.
Well, some of it's water and some of it's fat.
Okay. Wow.
Because the casing's porous, it's just some of the fat, the moisture within the haggis seeping through. So.
Yeah, of course there is fat. You should save it. You should make it like foie gras or something.
All the flavours have been bound together through the cooking process. So you've got the lamb meat, the beef meat, the oatmeal, the seasoning, the spices, the salt, and then once it's now been filled into the casing's now shrunk through the cooking process.
It has shrunk so much. They just come back like half the size.
The haggis need about 4 hours to cool down before going to get vacuum packed.
But these are not ready to be eaten yet, because they need to be eaten up again after they're in the bags.
That's what the consumer would do.
All right.
But in the old days, when we used to run the butcher shop, back when my grandfather was running the business, if there was ever a burst haggis, the guys would take it away and eat it, because it's right now the haggis at this stage is so tasty.
Is it?
Oh, it's fresh and succulent and juicy.
Oh no! So we're losing out so much just by cooking it afterwards.
No, you have it the same thing again when you heat it. But right now, there's nothing beats the taste of fresh haggis, and the recipe has only changed once in 67 years. We changed the blend of oatmeal. My father received a letter from a very well-renowned food critic called Derek Cooper, and he said, "John, I think your haggis is fantastic, but I think you could improve it. You might want to consider changing the blend of oatmeal." And Dad did. He sent a haggis back to Derek, and Derek replied, going, "Perfection." And we've never changed it since. Haggis isn't Scottish. Haggis, in one way or another, exists in every culture around the world. So a salami is a bit like a haggis. Mocia is a bit like a haggis. Feijoada in a stew in Brazil is a bit like a haggis. A haggis is a dish made with the bits and pieces that aren't whole muscle meat. So it's the original boil in the bag, because you're just using all these bits and pieces, and you make something that's very tasty and very affordable.
James isn't kidding about it being in almost every culture. In Czech cuisine they have vitrenice, in Romanian cuisine they have toba, andouillette in France. They're all made from bits and pieces of animal meat and encased to boil. Not only they are tasty, but they're also an economical way to use as much of the animal as possible. Despite the style of cooking being everywhere, Scots have a unique passion for haggis. There is even one night a year devoted to haggis, which acts as a sort of unofficial national holiday. It's called Burns Night and is named after Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet. A Burns supper traditionally kicks off with an address to the haggis. To show you how seriously they take it, I'm going to play James reciting the entire poem, while I also show you a collection of people across Scotland acting it out. Okay, take it away, James.
So, To a Haggis by Robert Burns. Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain a' the puddin' race, aboon them all ye tak your place.
Pinch stripe for thern, weel are ye waddy o a grace, as lang's my airn.
The growing treasure, there ye fall.
Your hardies, like a distant hill.
Your pin would help to mend a mill in time o' need.
And through your pores the dews distill.
Like amber beat.
His knife, see rustic labour dicht.
And cut ye up with ready slight.
Drenching your gushing entrails, breath like ony ditch.
And then, oh, what a glorious sight. Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn,
They stretch and strive.
he'll tack the hindmost on they drive, till their wheels
Swalled kites belive are bent.
Like drums, and all big man is like to ride.
We think it hums.
Is there the hour his French a ragout?
Arolio, 'twould staw a sou.
or fricassee would mak a spew.
We perfect skinner.
Looks down with sneer and scorn for you.
On sick a dinner. Poor deal, see him o' his trash.
As feckless as a withered rash.
His spindle, shank and guid, whip-lash.
His knee and net through bloody Flanders fields to dash.
Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic, haggis fed.
The trembling earth resounds his tread.
Clapping his wally neva blade, he'll mak it whistle, and leagues the names and heeds'll sned like taps o' thistle.
Ye poors,
Whack mak mankind your care, and dish them out their billow fare.
all Scotland wants nae skinking wear.
The jops and luggies.
But if you wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
Oh, wow, it's very soft.
Yeah.
Smells quite good.
Love it.
Wow.
It's meaty, it's fluffy, it's got oats, it's peppery, it's nutty.
And I like the spices as well. It's not that overpowering.
I'm glad you
Good.
like it. Don't be shy, I'm not going to be shy.